Hello, I am Tanya Wise, and this is my Training for Difference presentation, where I am a training manager for a large manufacturing organization, and I am presenting my proposal for a training plan. As a training manager, I want to present my plans for integrating cultural competence into our onboarding process. As you know, cultural competence is the ability to understand, appreciate, and interact with people from cultures or belief systems different from our own. Our new hiring manager has made some needed changes and has been adding to our organization of 800 more women, minorities, and persons with various physical disabilities from the local occupational health center's Back to Work program. This shift has made it obvious that the onboarding materials are no longer relevant and are potentially disorienting to the new workers. New onboarding materials must acknowledge this while also reflecting the changing culture within the organization. So I intend to develop a training program with the goals of integrating cultural competence into the onboarding process and the materials, and also through these initiatives to integrate a learning community and educate the new employees on cultural competency, cultural diversity, and emotional intelligence. I will use Bennett's stages of intercultural sensitivity to help me better explain. Sometimes called the Bennett scale, this describes ways in which people experience, interpret, and interact across cultural differences. It proposes a developmental continuum along which people can progress toward a deeper understanding and appreciation of cultural variance. The first three stages, as you see, are ethnocentric, and they progress through the scale where people develop a more ethno-relative point of view. So to start, denial occurs when people fail to recognize distinctions among cultures and consider them irrelevant. They will stereotype and dehumanize others by assuming their differences are from a deficiency in character. Defense, they view others as competitive, like the us against them. They're taking our jobs, for example. Minimization, people assume their cultural view is shared by others and imply that differences are unimportant. Acceptance. This does not mean that they prefer or endorse the values or behaviors of others, but do accept that there are different cultural views. Adaptation. People adopt the perspective of another and empathize and interact. Integration. People are able to experience themselves as multicultural and can incorporate the values and beliefs and behaviors of other cultures. Through this progression, it has been found as a person's perception of cultural differences becomes more complex, the more the potential exists for a person to learn cultural competence. So for my fellow visual learners, I will show you here a couple examples that you can view within each stage for a little more clarity. Denial. My cultural experience is the only one that is real and valid. There is little to no thought of other. Defense. We are superior and they are inferior. One feels threatened and is highly critical. What is strange? Maybe. Minimization. Other cultures are trivialized or romanticized. One tends to deny the differences, example, colorblind, and only seek similarities. Acceptance. I accept but may not agree with other cultures. Generally, I am curious and respectful. Adaptation. I see the world through different eyes and make intentional changes in my own behavior and values. Integration. I easily move in and out of different cultural worldviews. I will implement this training through use of the ADDIE model, which is a learning model used by instructional designers and training developers to create effective learning experiences. The ADDIE acronym stands for Analysis, Design, Develop, Implement, and Evaluate. Now, through each step, I will explain the purpose of each stage. In analysis, which is the process of discovery, where we identify opportunities, problems, and issues at hand, we identify the learner's needs by asking questions such as, what has worked so far? What do they know on the subject? What training or experience do they already have on the subject of cultural competence or cultural diversity? What are their attitudes towards training? We will collect data, either possibly by administering questionnaires or surveys, or maybe another way, but to determine the skill gaps. Skill gap meaning where they are now in their level of their skills to where we need them to be. We may do observations. Then we will analyze data, provide feedback, and determine also who the SMEs are, the subject matter experts, who will be the facilitators of the training. And we also set goals for outcomes. I will then present a report of my findings, being that the analysis stage is the most crucial stage in the entire model, as it leads you through to the next step, to the correct outcomes, to the correct proper training. If you leave out crucial information in the needs analysis, you may end up forming a training program on the wrong subject or looking for the wrong outcome. Next is design. It's where we create the structure of the course. We take what we learn from the analysis and determine the objectives, specific measurable objectives. Say, for instance, we desire a 10% increase in the learner's adaptation of empathy or empowerment after a 4-month period of the training in the workplace. We determine the media and the technical platform if we need one, or will it be a face-to-face training? We integrate design of activities around adult learning styles, which we also gather from the analysis. Are they experiential learners, confident learners, or transitional learners? We also do a learner's analysis where we look at the demographics of the learners, the makeup of the embodiment of the learners, their characteristics, past experiences. We also design activities in curriculum and a pop agenda. The pop agenda provides a layout of the program, includes timing of activity, objectives, and gives meaning to the objectives. We will determine testing procedures and evaluation methods. Then in develop, we create, test, produce instructional materials. This includes organizing and building the curriculum, participant workbooks, instructor guides, participant workbooks, include activities and possibly role-playing and discussions about ethnocentrism, ethno-relativism, cultural competence, and emotional intelligence. It will include handouts, presentation slides, charts, course evaluations. It will also include a proposal for a final budget, which, for example, could be cost per trainee, which is cost of training divided by number of people. That would also include indirect cost, cost of facilities, cost of technical platform, any food or snacks, for example. We will create tests on learning and behaviors and reactions to be embedded in the facilitator guide as well as in the presentation slides. We will conduct pilot tests to see if the tests are functioning, understandable, and effective, and then we will revise and produce the final form. Based on the results of the sample testing and analysis phase, Bennett's stages of ethno-relativism will be intertwined in the design and develop stage as we will build the curriculum based on education of cultural worldviews, sharing experiences, and discussions integrating empathy and active listening. The implement stage carries out the goals and objectives of the program and provides the data for assessing the program effectiveness. We must first assess if the facilitator, their learners, and the learning environment are ready for the presentation to take place. We must determine if the facilitators are well rehearsed and prepared for the curriculum. It's best if they practice the activities and the test in the technical platform before delivery. We will ensure the learners know the objectives and have a foundational knowledge of the subject, have proper working technical devices, understand the technical platforms, and are provided all guides and handouts. We then determine if the learning environment is conducive to learning. Is it distraction-free? We will manage a physical setting. We'll check the lighting, make sure it's properly lighted, and move furniture to make sure that all learners can learn effectively. The learners will then participate in the instruction. Evaluate. This is a stage in which the project is subjected to final testing to learn what was or was not accomplished. There is formative evaluations that assess the program before the implementation, which we did on a small focus group in the analysis and development stages. Then there's the summative evaluations. This assesses the final training program after implementation, where we determine if objectives were met, if the learner's knowledge transfers, and if behaviors are changed. We will do this by continuing questionnaires, surveys, and interviews once a month to determine if the process should begin again with the analysis phase to make improvements to the curriculum or redirect the objectives to ensure continued effectiveness. Thank you for your time. I hope you enjoyed the presentation, and I look forward to working with you on this project. From this project, I learned I enjoy building presentations and look forward to taking on more challenges, such as implementing cultural competence and working to improve issues and initiatives in organization. I also realize I do use the ADDIE model in my everyday life. I enter every situation with what caused this or what do I already know about this, collect data by asking questions. I then design a thought process of what would work best in this situation. I develop an activity to assess and test my theory and then evaluate if that worked for me. Going forward, I plan to use instructional design models such as ADDIE to, of course, use for new initiatives rollout and an organization and needs a learning curriculum, but also for change management strategy when issues at hand need improvement or adjustments, but I think mostly to evaluate existing programs and applications in organizations.